Hello, I am a very strange Aeon, and welcome to my video. So, you've done this song and dance before. You've reached level 80, the top level in an MMO, and you need to start gearing up because that's how you progress, right? That's what you do. Well, welcome to Guild Wars, and I'm going to explain to you exactly how to start that process. First thing worth mentioning, Guild Wars is a relatively flat progression system. As they add expansions, the gear doesn't go up as it might in other MMOs such as World of Warcraft. That said, you do want a certain level of gear to be able to be functional at level 80. Now, what this video is going to go over is starting your gearing. This is not super optimized, and if you want to spend a lot more time on this, you can refine it down. This is just how to get yourself started. I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty of all the different stats and rune selections and exact builds. So when talking about equipment in Guild Wars, there are three qualities you need to be aware of: exotic, ascended, and legendary. Exotic gear is the baseline gear for level 80s. It is what most of the content is scaled around, and is a level that will suit you just fine. It is most of what I'm going to be discussing today. Ascended gear is a higher tier of armor than exotic gear. It is approximately 5%, so not a massive deal. You do not need this to start any content in Guild Wars 2, and even raiding is designed around exotic gear. Legendary is something I will not be discussing today. It is a higher tier on top of Ascended that is purely for convenience purposes and, well, to show off. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is rather unusual, and that is a level 80 boost. Anytime you purchase an expansion in Guild Wars 2, you get a booster. This will allow you to level a character straight to level 80. Said character will be equipped with a set of exotic gear that is of the Celestial stat. Celestial is a stat type that gives some of every stat. It is not always the most optimal stat, but it will always do. So as such, these characters are basically good to go for whatever content they want to do, and for whatever build you want to play. They can optimize, but they'll do as a starting point. But let's get on to some more conventional methods now. Temple gear is gear that you can purchase in various locations in around Ore. This gear is purchased for Karma, which as you've leveled up to level 80, you will likely have accumulated a excess of. Temple gear consists of both armor and trinkets, and they have varying different stats depending on which set you pick up. Strangely, for reasons best known to some employee at ArenaNet, the armor and trinkets sold by each merchant have different stats. Why? I don't know. If you're going to make a new character, I would strongly recommend going for the Grenth armor, purchased from the Cathedral of Silence. This armor gives Berserker stats, which are solid, power-based DPS stats, and will generally do you for a while. The rune isn't the best for that type of build, but you can make do. If you're wanting to make a more condition-based character, I would suggest probably going for the Balthazar armor, purchased at the Cathedral of Glorious Victory. This gives Rampager stats, which will also make do. When it comes to trinkets, I would suggest going for the Balthazar trinkets if you're going for a power-based build, and for the Duena trinket if you're going for a condition-based build. The others are all viable, but they probably require a more specific build. If you know that you need certain stats distributions, go for them. They'll do. But these are the ones that I would say most people are going to get the most use out of. Another option to get exotic armor is from the Itzel Mastery vendor. Now, this requires you to have access to Heart of the Thorns, and requires you to level up the Itzel Mastery to the point where you can purchase the gear. After you've got this mastery, you can just talk to this. Now note, unusually, so you cannot fully gear up your armor from this merchant. The final piece of this set can be earned from the meta in the zone he is in, if you can get it. I've personally found that it's not the most reliable meta to be completed, but if you luck out, good for you. This gear can be fully stat selectable, so you can pick whatever stats you desire. So I would personally recommend picking up Marauders or Berserkers for power builds, and Viper for a more condition-based build. And if you're just not sure, you can't go too wrong with Celestial, as it's just more generic. This will hold for other stat selectable gear in the future, by the way, as well. The next option I'm going to talk about is a bit more niche, and that is World v World. You can go to a World v World skirmish merchant and purchase gear from them for the World v World currencies. But, of course, this requires you to, do World v World. Many people are not too keen on this game mode, although I am personally kind of a fan, and as such, don't want to do it. If that's the case, so be it. You can still get the gear from plenty of other ways. But if you do intend to do World v World, do be aware that your gear does matter in this zone to a certain extent, and as such, if you're under-geared, you can struggle a little. I would suggest grouping with larger groups so that you can earn currency while not just being instantly murdered. If that's not your style, so be it, but if it is, it's a pretty effective way of full gearing up into exotic. And lastly, for exotic equipment, but probably the most useful, is just going onto the Black Lion trading post. Many pieces of gear can be purchased rather cheaply, and assuming you have enough money, you can just buy up what you need to fill in your slots. I will caution people new to this game, prices in the Black Lion trading post can vary wildly, and it's not normally due to the power of the item, it's instead due to the appearance. As I said earlier, gear in this game is relatively flat, so people don't struggle to get the gear they need from stat-wise, but they do care about, looking fancy, like this little Aeon in front of you, for example. As such, just go for something that's cheap and fills the niche, preferably of the relevant stats. Now, I'm also going to mention one or two ascended items. This may seem counterintuitive as these are higher tier items than the exotics, but actually some ascended items are strangely easier to get than their exotic equivalents. The first and most obvious is from the Wizard Vault. The Wizard Vault is a set of daily and weekly objectives you can do once you hit level 80. Work for these and you'll get the currency, and alter them to be whichever game modes you desire, be it PvP, PvE, or World v World. Through this method, you should be able to purchase one ascended weapon and 3 pieces of ascended armor. This should greatly speed up your gearing up process, as well as give you a little bit of boost towards moving towards full ascended. These are stat selectable, so pick whichever stats are going to be most useful to you. And finally, I need to talk about Living World Season 3. Now, you may or may not own this, and if you don't, so be it, just move on. But if you do, Living World Season 3 has various Unbound Magic merchants. These merchants will sell ascended quality trinkets of varying types depending on the exact episode you're dealing with. They'll generally sell these for a combination of Unbound Magic and the resource that can be gathered in those zones. These are relatively cheap and easy to get, all things considered, if you have the episode. However, I'm not sure Living World Season 3 would be my first recommended purchase. However, if you have it, make use of it. These are generally stat selectable, so you can pick whichever stats you desire, and at least one set of them can also be stat changed, making them even more convenient. So that's my quick newbies recommendations for gear. Hope this helps out some people, and, well, good luck.